When a billionaire collapsed in front of a janitor at 3 a.m., he had two choices: call security and keep his job, or save her and risk everything. What happened next destroyed his quiet life, dragged him before her ruthless father, and turned a single act of kindness into a scandal that made national headlines. This is the story of how one decision on a freezing Chicago night changed two lives forever. Before we begin, please hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story reaches across the world. Now, let's go back to where it all started. The elevators at Voss Tower stopped running at midnight. Caleb Ward knew that because he'd been cleaning these floors for 3 years, and in 3 years, he'd learned every rhythm of the building. The hum of the HVAC system cutting back at 11:47, the click of automated lights dimming on empty floors at 12:15. The particular echo his footsteps made on the 53rd floor when everyone else had gone home. Tonight, the building felt different. It was 2:47 a.m. on a Wednesday in February, and outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, Chicago was being buried under the worst snowstorm the city had seen in a decade. Wind screamed against the glass. Snow came down so thick it looked like static, like the whole world was losing signal. Caleb pushed his cleaning cart down the executive corridor, the wheels squeaking against polished marble that probably cost more per square foot than his rent. He'd already done the lower floors. Just 2 more levels, and he could clock out, drive home through whatever nightmare the roads had become, and maybe catch 4 hours of sleep before Maya woke up asking for breakfast. 6 years old, and she still thought every day was worth getting excited about. He didn't know how she did it. The cart's left wheel caught on something and jerked sideways. Caleb stopped, crouched down, and found a woman's shoe wedged under the wheel. Not just any shoe, the kind that probably had a name he'd never heard of. Black leather, high heel, elegant in a way that suggested the wearer had people to dress her who knew exactly what power looked like. He pulled it free and stood up, looking around the empty corridor. That's when he saw her. She was crumpled against the wall maybe 20 feet ahead, just past the executive elevator bank. Dark clothing against dark marble. Easy to miss if you weren't looking. For a second, Caleb's mind went blank, running through possibilities: drunk, homeless, dead, before logic kicked back in. Nobody homeless made it past the lobby of Voss Tower, and nobody got drunk up here without a key card that cost more than his car. He left the cart and walked toward her, his footsteps too loud in the silence. She was alive. He could see her breathing, shallow and fast. Her hair, dark, cut in that precise way that said salon, not supercuts, was stuck to her face with sweat. She'd pulled her knees up to her chest, arms wrapped tight around them, and she was shaking. Caleb stopped a few feet away. "Ma'am?" No response. He moved closer, careful, and crouched down to her level. That's when he recognized her. Elena Voss. He'd seen her face on the elevator screens, in the lobby displays, on the company newsletter that HR sent out every month that he never read. 30 years old and running a corporation her grandfather had built. The articles called her a prodigy. The late-night cleaning crew called her the Ice Queen, though never where anyone could hear. She didn't look like a queen now. She looked like someone who'd run out of places to hide. "Miss Voss?" Her eyes opened, fever bright, unfocused. It took her a moment to find him, and when she did, something like panic crossed her face. "Don't." Her voice came out rough, barely above a whisper. "Don't call anyone." Caleb stayed very still. "You need help." "No." She tried to push herself up and failed, sliding back down against the wall. No security, no one. Just leave. He should have. That was the smart move, the safe move. Walk away, finish his shift, let someone else find her in the morning. Whatever was happening here wasn't his business, wasn't his world, wasn't his problem, but he'd seen that look before. On Maya's face the night her mother left, when she was 3 and didn't understand why mommy wasn't coming back. That particular kind of fear that came from being small and alone and running out of strength. "I'm not calling security," Caleb said quietly, "but I'm not leaving you here either." Elena stared at him, trying to focus. "Who are you?" "Caleb, I clean this floor." "You work for—" She stopped, closed her eyes. "You work for the company." "I work for the cleaning service. They contract with the building." He glanced down the corridor toward the security camera mounted above the elevator bank, red light blinking. "You're burning up," When's the last time you ate something? I don't know. Yesterday. Maybe. She pulled her knees tighter. I just need a minute. I'll be fine. You're not fine. I'll be fine once. Her breath hitched. Once I can stand up without the room spinning. Caleb looked at her for a long moment. Designer clothes rumpled and sweat-stained. One shoe missing. Makeup smudged under her eyes. This wasn't just sickness. This was someone who'd pushed until they broke. Your father, Caleb said. Richard Voss. He still runs the company with you, right? Something changed in her face. Not anger exactly, something colder. What about him? If I call someone, that's who they'll tell. First person they call. Elena's jaw tightened. She looked away, toward the windows where snow beat against the glass in waves. When she spoke again, her voice was different, smaller. Please don't. 2 words. That's all it took for Caleb to make up his mind. He stood up, walked back to his cart, and pulled out his phone. Elena watched him with something that might have been betrayal, but he wasn't calling security. He was checking the time, 2:53 a.m., and pulling up the cleaning schedule to see who else was in the building. Marcus on the 40th floor, Linda doing the lobby. Nobody up here but him for at least another hour. He walked back to Elena and held out his hand. Can you stand? She looked at his hand like it was a test she didn't know how to pass. What are you doing? Getting you somewhere that isn't a hallway with cameras. He glanced up at the security camera again. You've got maybe 3 minutes before someone checking monitors notices the CEO passed out on her own floor. So we can argue about it, or you can take my hand. Elena hesitated. Then slowly, she reached up. Her hand was hot enough that he felt it through both their skin, fever radiating like she'd been set on fire from the inside. She weighed almost nothing when he pulled her to her feet, and she swayed immediately, grabbing his arm to stay upright. Easy, Caleb said. I've got you. I don't usually... Yeah, I'm guessing this isn't your regular Wednesday. He bent down, grabbed her missing shoe from where he'd left it by the cart. Can you walk? I think so. She couldn't. She made it maybe 5 steps before her knees buckled. Caleb caught her before she hit the ground, and for a second they both just stood there, her weight against him, her breathing harsh and uneven. Okay, he said. New plan. He shifted his grip, one arm under her knees, the other around her back, and lifted her. She made a small sound of protest, but she was too weak to do anything about it. Her head fell against his shoulder. This is completely inappropriate, she muttered. Yeah, well, so is passing out at work. Caleb started walking, moving fast but careful, thinking through the route in his head. Not the main elevators, too exposed. The service elevator at the end of the hall, the one that went down to the parking garage. When's the last time you slept? I don't remember. 8? I told you, yesterday. Actual food or coffee? She didn't answer. Caleb reached the service elevator and shifted Elena's weight so he could hit the call button. The doors opened immediately. Nobody used this elevator but maintenance and cleaning. He stepped inside, hit the button for the garage level, and the doors slid shut. The elevator was old, slow, and it groaned as it started descending. Elena's eyes had closed again. In the fluorescent light, he could see how pale she was under the flush of fever, could see the shadows under her eyes that makeup had hidden. Why are you helping me? She asked without opening her eyes. Because you asked me to. You don't know me. I know you're sick and you don't want to be found. The elevator shuddered, kept dropping. That's enough. Elena opened her eyes, looked up at him, really looked, like she was trying to figure out a puzzle that didn't make sense. You could lose your job for this. Probably. You could get in actual trouble, sued, arrested. Yeah. So why? I've got a daughter, Caleb said, 6 years old, and sometimes I think about what would happen if she got sick somewhere and there was nobody around who gave a damn, what I'd want someone to do. The elevator reached the garage level and stopped. So I'm doing that. The doors opened onto concrete and shadow and the smell of oil and old water. Caleb's truck was parked in the visitor section, close to the service exit. He'd been parking there for 3 years and nobody had ever said anything because nobody had ever noticed. That was the thing about being invisible. Sometimes it came in handy. He carried Elena across the garage, their footsteps echoing, and reached his truck. A 15-year-old Ford that needed new tires and made a sound like something was dying whenever he went over 40. He set Elena down carefully, leaning her against the passenger door while he dug his keys out. "Where are we going?" she asked. "My place. It's not much, but it's warm and there's no cameras." "I can't." She stopped, swayed. "I can't just disappear. People will notice." "People will notice you collapsed on the 53rd floor too." He unlocked the door, opened it. "At least this way you get to control the story." Elena stared at him, then at the truck, then back at him. "I don't even know your last name." "Ward. Caleb Ward." He waited. "You can say no. I'll take you back upstairs right now if that's what you want. But you need to decide, because in about 2 minutes, someone's going to check that camera footage and see you vanish." She looked at him for a long moment, calculating something, weighing options he probably didn't understand. Then she climbed into the truck. Caleb closed the door, walked around to the driver's side, and got in. The engine turned over on the third try. Not great, not terrible. He pulled out of the garage through the exit gate that didn't require a card after midnight and onto streets that had stopped existing under a foot of snow. The drive should have taken 20 minutes. It took an hour. The truck slid through intersections where the lights had gone dark. Snowplows hadn't made it out this far yet, maybe hadn't even started. The highway was a white void, marked only by reflective posts and the occasional red glow of taillights from some other fool who'd decided tonight was a good night to be out. Elena didn't speak. She sat with her forehead pressed against the cold window, breathing shallow, hands clenched in her lap. Every few minutes, Caleb glanced over to make sure she was still conscious. "You live far?" she asked finally. "Suburbs. About 30 minutes on a normal day." He navigated around an abandoned car, its hazard lights still blinking. "Today's not normal." "No." She closed her eyes. "It's really not." The silence stretched. Outside, the city had disappeared into white noise and darkness. Inside the truck, the heater rattled and pushed out air that was barely warm. Caleb's hands ached from gripping the wheel too tight. "Your daughter," Elena said. "What's her name?" "Maya." "Just you two?" "Yeah." "Her mother?" "Not in the picture." He said it flat, the way he always did when people asked. No details, no story, just facts. "Been just us for 3 years now." Elena opened her eyes, looked at him in the dim light from the dashboard. "That must be hard." "It is what it is." He turned onto a side street that looked like it hadn't seen a plow in days. "You do what you have to do." "And what you have to do includes saving CEOs who pass out in hallways?" "Apparently." Something that might have been a laugh came out of her, small and rough. "You're either very kind or very stupid." "I'm open to both." "I'm not worth losing your job over." Caleb didn't answer that. What was he supposed to say? That she was wrong? That everyone was worth helping? He didn't know if he believed that. He just knew he couldn't leave her there. They drove in silence the rest of the way. His neighborhood appeared out of the storm like something from a dream. Small houses set back from narrow streets, cars buried under snow, porch lights making small pools of yellow in all that white. He pulled into his driveway, killed the engine, and sat there for a second listening to the wind. "This is me," he said. Elena looked at the house. 2 stories, old siding, a front porch that needed fixing. Nothing fancy, nothing that looked like it belonged in the same world as Voss Tower. "Okay," she said quietly. Caleb got out, walked around, and helped her down from the truck. She could stand now, but barely, and she leaned against him as they made their way up the walk. Snow had drifted across the porch. He unlocked the front door, guided her inside, and closed out the storm. The house was dark and quiet, warm. He'd left the heat on low, and it made everything feel soft around the edges. "Bathroom's upstairs, second door," Caleb said. "Living room's through there. I'll get you some water." Elena nodded, but didn't move. She stood in the entryway, dripping melted snow onto his floor, looking around like she'd stepped into a museum of a life she didn't recognize. Caleb went to the kitchen, filled a glass from the tap, and grabbed the bottle of ibuprofen from the cabinet. When he came back, Elena was still standing there. "You should sit down before you fall down," he said. She took the glass, drank half of it in one go. He handed her the ibuprofen and she took 3 without asking what they were. "Couch is good?" he asked. "Couch is fine." He led her into the living room, small space, worn furniture, toys scattered in one corner that he'd meant to pick up before his shift. Elena sat down on the couch like her legs had just stopped working, and Caleb went to the closet to find blankets. When he came back, she was curled on her side, eyes closed, shivering despite the warmth. He covered her with 2 blankets, heavy ones, and she pulled them close without opening her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Caleb stepped back, looked at her for a moment. This stranger in his living room, this person from a world so different from his it might as well be another planet, and wondered what the hell he'd just done. Upstairs, Maya was asleep in her bed, her nightlight painting stars across the ceiling. She had school in the morning. He had to figure out what to tell her about the woman on their couch. But that was a problem for daylight. Right now, he just stood there in the doorway, watching Elena breathe, watching her fever flush fade a little as warmth and rest started doing their work. The smart thing would have been to leave her at the tower. The safe thing. The thing that wouldn't come back to destroy everything he'd built for Maya. But Caleb had stopped doing the smart thing the moment he recognized that look in Elena's eyes. So he pulled the armchair closer to the couch, sat down, and settled in to keep watch. Outside, the storm kept raging. Inside, for just a little while, there was quiet. And neither of them had any idea that this one night would be the thing that changed everything. The hours before dawn were the longest. Caleb sat in the armchair with his phone in his hand, not looking at it, just turning it over and over while the woman on his couch slept. Every few minutes, he'd check her breathing, make sure she hadn't gotten worse. Her fever seemed to be breaking, the shivering had stopped, and her face didn't look quite so flushed. Small miracles. Around 4:30, his phone buzzed. Text from Marcus, the other night cleaner. "You get out okay?" "Roads are hell." Caleb typed back, "Yeah, home safe." He didn't mention what he'd found on the 53rd floor. Didn't mention the woman currently using his couch as a hiding place from her own life. Some things you kept to yourself. Another text. "Lucky. I'm stuck at the tower till morning. Supervisor says sleep in the break room. That sucks." "Yeah. See you Friday." Caleb set the phone down and looked at Elena again. In sleep, without the armor of makeup and expensive clothes and whatever face she wore to run a corporation, she looked younger, tired. Human in a way he suspected she never let anyone see. He wondered what had pushed her to that breaking point, what it felt like to have everything, money, power, a name that made people step aside when you walked into a room and still end up collapsed on a marble floor at 3 in the morning, too scared to ask for help. Outside, the wind had finally started to ease. The storm wasn't over, but it was losing steam. Maya would be up in 2 hours. He needed a story, something simple, something true enough that she wouldn't question it. A friend who got stuck in the storm. That would work. Maya was 6. She wouldn't dig deeper than that. The problem came after, when Elena woke up, when she was strong enough to leave, when someone at Voss Towers started asking questions about where she'd gone. He'd deal with that when it happened. Caleb let his head fall back against the chair, closed his eyes, and listened to the quiet house. Heater humming, clock ticking in the kitchen. Elena's breathing, slow and steady now. For just a moment, he let himself stop thinking about consequences. And then Maya's alarm went off upstairs, and daylight arrived whether he was ready or not. Maya's footsteps thundered down the stairs at 6:45, same as every morning. Caleb heard her coming and moved fast, stepping into the hallway to intercept her before she could barrel into the living room. "Daddy!" She crashed into him, all wild hair and dinosaur pajamas. "Is there school? Did they cancel it?" "Let me check." He pulled out his phone, already knowing what he'd find. "Yeah, baby. Snow day." "Yes!" She pumped her fist, then frowned. "But you said you'd make pancakes on the next snow day." "I did say that." "So are we making pancakes?" Caleb glanced toward the living room. "We are. But I need to tell you something first." Maya looked up at him with those eyes that saw too much for 6 years old. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. A friend of mine got stuck in the storm last night. She's sleeping on the couch." "A friend?" Maya's whole face changed, lighting up with interest. "A girlfriend?" "A friend who's a girl. That's different." "Is she pretty?" "Maya." "What?" "I'm just asking." She tried to peek around him into the living room. Can I see her? She's sleeping. She was really tired. He steered Maya toward the kitchen. How about you help me with pancakes, and we let her rest? Okay, but when she wakes up, I want to meet her. Deal. They made pancakes the way they always did. Maya on her step stool cracking eggs and making a mess. Caleb doing the actual cooking while she narrated everything like she was hosting a cooking show. The kitchen filled with the smell of butter and batter, and for a little while, Caleb could almost pretend this was just a normal snow day. Then he heard movement from the living room. Stay here, he told Maya. Keep an eye on those pancakes. I'm 6. I can't cook. Just watch them. Don't touch the stove. He found Elena sitting up on the couch, blankets pooled around her waist, looking around the room like she was trying to remember how she'd gotten there. Her hair was a mess. Her makeup from yesterday had smudged into shadows. She looked nothing like the woman from the elevator screens. Hey, Caleb said quietly. How you feeling? Elena turned to look at him, and it took her a second to focus. Better, I think. Her voice was rough. What time is it? Little before 7. In the morning? Yeah. She closed her eyes. There was a board meeting at 8, and a call with Singapore at 9:30. You were supposed to not pass out on your office floor, but we don't all get what we want. Elena opened her eyes again, and something that might have been a smile crossed her face. You're very direct. I clean toilets for a living. Kind of kills the urge to be subtle. He moved closer, not too close. You want some water, coffee, food? All of the above. I can do that. He paused. Fair warning, my daughter's in the kitchen. She knows you're here. She's going to have questions. How old? 6. What did you tell her? That you're a friend who got stuck in the storm. Elena looked down at herself. Rumpled designer clothes, one shoe missing, looking like she'd been through a war. Some friend. She doesn't care what you look like. She just wants to make sure you're not a serial killer. I'm not. Good to know. Caleb went back to the kitchen, poured coffee, and loaded a plate with pancakes. When he returned, Elena had managed to stand up, though she was using the arm of the couch for support. You should sit, he said. I've been sitting, lying down, whatever. But she sat anyway, taking the coffee he offered like it was medicine. This is surreal. Which part? All of it. She took a sip, closed her eyes. Yesterday morning I was running a company. Last night I was on your floor dying. Now I'm eating pancakes in the suburbs. That's one way to describe your week. What's the other way? That you pushed yourself until you broke and someone happened to be there to catch you. He set the plate down on the coffee table. Eat something. You need it. Elena looked at the pancakes like they might be a trap. Then she picked up the fork and took a bite. And another. And before Caleb could say anything else, she'd finished half the plate. When did you last eat? He asked. I don't remember. 2 days ago? Maybe 3. She set the fork down. I don't usually. This isn't normal for me. Starving yourself or passing out? Both. She looked up at him. I'm usually very controlled. Yeah, I got that impression. Then you understand why this is. She gestured vaguely at the room, at herself, at everything. Why I can't just be here. You want to leave? I should leave. That's not what I asked. Elena held his gaze for a long moment. Then she looked away toward the window where snow was still falling, lighter now, but steady. No, I don't want to leave, that's the problem. Before Caleb could answer, Maya appeared in the doorway, holding a stuffed dinosaur and wearing her most serious expression. Hi, Maya said. I'm Maya. Who are you? Elena blinked, clearly not expecting this. My name is Elena. Are you Daddy's girlfriend? Maya. Caleb's voice came out sharper than he meant it to. What? I'm being polite. Maya walked into the room, completely fearless. You look tired. Did you sleep okay on our couch? Yes, thank you. Elena looked genuinely thrown. The couch was fine. It's old, but Daddy says we can't get a new one until he fixes the roof. Maya climbed onto the arm of the chair, still watching Elena like she was a puzzle to solve. Do you like dinosaurs? I don't know much about dinosaurs. That's sad. Maya held up her stuffed animal. This is Rex. He's a T-Rex, but he's nice. Most T-Rexes are mean, but not Rex. Elena looked at the dinosaur, then at Maya, then at Caleb with an expression that said she had no idea how to handle this situation. Maya, Caleb said, Elena probably needs some quiet. It's okay. Elena's voice was softer now. I don't mind. Maya beamed. Do you want to see my room? I have like 100 dinosaurs. You have 12 dinosaurs, Caleb corrected. That's almost 100. Maya slid off the chair arm. Come on, I'll show you. Maybe later, Elena said. I'm still waking up. Okay, but when you're awake, you have to see them because they're really cool. Maya looked at her father. Can Elena stay for lunch? We'll see. That means yes. Maya grinned at Elena. Daddy makes grilled cheese that's really good. Better than the cafeteria at school. High praise, Elena said, and there was something in her voice, something warm and surprised, like she'd forgotten what this felt like. Maya ran back to the kitchen, already on to the next thing, leaving Caleb and Elena alone again. Sorry, Caleb said. She doesn't really have a filter. Don't apologize, she's... Elena stopped, looked toward the kitchen where Maya was singing something about dinosaurs. She's wonderful. Yeah, she is. You're lucky. I know. Elena picked up her coffee again, both hands wrapped around the mug. I should call my office. Let them know I'm alive. You should eat the rest of those pancakes first. You're very bossy for someone who cleans floors. You're very stubborn for someone who almost died last night. That got a real smile out of her. Small, but real. Fair point. She finished the pancakes while Caleb cleaned up the kitchen and kept Maya from coming back to interrogate their guest. By the time he returned, Elena had her phone out, staring at the screen with an expression that looked like dread. 47 missed calls, she said. 63 emails, 12 voicemails. Popular? Apparently. She scrolled through something, her face getting tighter with each swipe. My assistant thinks I'm dead. My father thinks I... She stopped. My father's going to kill me. Because you took a sick day? Because I disappeared without telling anyone where I was going. She looked up at him. You don't understand. People don't just... I don't just vanish. There are protocols. People need to know where I am. Maybe that's the problem. What? Maybe you need to be able to vanish sometimes. Caleb sat down in the chair. You can call them. Tell them you're sick, you're resting, you'll be back when you're ready. You don't owe them more than that. I owe them a company that functions. Company was functioning fine before you. It'll function fine if you take a day. Elena shook her head. You don't know my father. I know you ended up on a floor at 3 a.m. because you couldn't tell anyone you needed help. So yeah, maybe I don't know him, but I know what that does to a person. She looked at him for a long time, something shifting in her expression. Then she turned back to her phone and started typing. Caleb got up, gave her privacy, and went to check on Maya. He found her in the living room building something with blocks, entirely absorbed. The snow outside had finally stopped. The world was white and quiet and still. His phone buzzed. Text from his supervisor at the cleaning company. Towers closed today due to weather. No shifts until Friday. Caleb stared at that message for a long moment, trying to decide if it was good luck or bad. No shift meant no money, but it also meant no one would be asking where he'd been last night or what he'd seen. When he came back to the living room, Elena was off the phone, staring at the blank screen like it might bite her. Everything okay? He asked. I told my assistant I'm taking a sick day. First one in 6 years. She set the phone down. She sounded confused. Maybe she's glad you're finally being human. Maybe. Elena rubbed her eyes. My father wants to talk to me. I told him tomorrow. He going to be angry? He's always angry about something. She stood up, steadier now than she'd been earlier. I should probably go. Let you get back to your day. You don't have to. I'm disrupting your life. Maya thinks you're here to see her dinosaurs. I think that's a binding social contract. Elena actually laughed at that. I've never seen a 6-year-old's dinosaur collection. You're missing out. Caleb glanced toward the stairs. There's a shower upstairs if you want. I might have some clean clothes that'll fit. You're offering me your clothes. Unless you want to wear that suit all day. Elena looked down at herself again. I must look insane. You look like someone who had a rough night. He stood up. Come on. I'll show you where everything is. He led her upstairs past Maya's room with its explosion of toys and drawings to the bathroom that needed updating but worked fine. He grabbed a towel from the closet, found a t-shirt and sweatpants that would be too big but clean. "Take your time," he said. "I'll be downstairs if you need anything." Elena took the clothes, held them like she'd never seen normal person clothes before. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "Being kind. You don't know me. I could be. I could ruin your life just by being here." Caleb leaned against the doorframe. "You could, but you won't." "How do you know?" "Because if you were the kind of person who'd do that, you wouldn't have asked me not to call security." He met her eyes. "You would have just expected me to save you and then forgotten I existed." Elena didn't have an answer for that. "Take your shower," Caleb said. "Maya's going to want lunch soon, and trust me, you don't want to miss the great grilled cheese debate." "There's a debate?" "She thinks cheese should be on the outside. I maintain that's insane." "That is insane." "Thank you." He pushed off the doorframe. "See you downstairs." He left her there, closed the door, and went back down to where Maya was now building what she claimed was a dinosaur museum. "Is Elena staying?" Maya asked without looking up from her blocks. "For a little bit." "Good. I like her." "You just met her." "So, you can tell if people are nice right away." Maya added another block to her structure. "She's nice, and she's sad." Caleb stopped. "What makes you say that?" "Her eyes. They look like yours did when Mommy left." Maya finally looked up at him. "But she smiled at Rex, so I think she'll be okay." Sometimes his daughter saw too much. Sometimes that scared him. "Yeah," Caleb said quietly. "I think she'll be okay too." The shower ran for a long time upstairs. Caleb made more coffee, checked the news on his phone. Storm breaking up, roads still a mess, city basically shut down. He answered a text from his neighbor asking if they needed anything. Watched Maya build her museum and narrate the entire construction process. When Elena came back downstairs wearing his old college t-shirt and sweatpants rolled up at the ankles, her hair wet and face scrubbed clean of makeup, she looked like a completely different person. Maya saw her first. "You look normal now." "Maya," Caleb warned. "What?" "She does. Before she looked like the ladies on TV. Now she looks like a person." Elena laughed. Really laughed. Not that polite thing people did in business meetings. "I'll take that as a compliment." "It is one." Maya abandoned her blocks and grabbed Elena's hand. "Come see my dinosaurs. I've been waiting forever." "It's been 20 minutes, Caleb said, but Maya was already dragging Elena toward the stairs, and Elena was letting herself be dragged, and Caleb stood there in his kitchen wondering what the hell was happening to his carefully controlled life. He made grilled cheese. Made them the normal way, cheese on the inside, because he wasn't raising an anarchist. He could hear Maya upstairs giving Elena the full tour, explaining the difference between a brachiosaurus and a brontosaurus, why velociraptors were actually small, why the T-Rex in Jurassic Park was scientifically inaccurate. His daughter knew way too much about dinosaurs. When they came back down, Elena looked genuinely delighted. She knows more about paleontology than most adults. She watches a lot of documentaries, Caleb said. "I'm going to be a paleontologist when I grow up," Maya announced, "and find bones and prove that some dinosaurs had feathers." "They already proved that," Caleb said. "Then I'll find more proof." They ate lunch at the small kitchen table. The three of them crowded around it, Maya talking non-stop, Elena asking questions that actually sounded interested, not just polite. Caleb watched them interact and felt something in his chest tighten. This felt normal, dangerous and impossible, and absolutely normal. After lunch, Maya wanted to watch a movie. She picked something animated that Caleb had seen approximately 400 times, and they all ended up on the couch. Maya in the middle, Elena on one side looking uncertain about how to sit, Caleb on the other trying not to think about how strange this was. Halfway through the movie, Maya fell asleep, her head on Elena's shoulder. Elena looked down at her, then at Caleb, with an expression of mild panic. "What do I do?" she whispered. "Nothing. Just let her sleep." "But what if I need to move?" "Then you don't move." "That's..." Elena stopped, looked at Maya again. "She's really just going to sleep on me?" She trusts you. That's what kids do. Elena was quiet for a moment. Then, very carefully, she adjusted her arm so Maya would be more comfortable. I don't know how to do this. Do what? This. Normal life, lazy afternoons, grilled cheese and dinosaurs, and she stopped. My life isn't like this. What's your life like? Meetings, conference calls, boardrooms, decisions that affect thousands of people. She looked around the small living room. Everything matters. Every choice has weight. That sounds exhausting. It is. She looked at Maya, something soft in her expression. But I forgot this existed. What? Simplicity. Just being with people because you want to, not because you have to. Caleb didn't know what to say to that, so he just sat there while the movie played and Maya slept, and Elena looked at his daughter like she'd discovered something she hadn't known she was missing. The afternoon faded into evening. The snow had stopped completely now, leaving the world wrapped in white silence. Maya woke up, disoriented and cranky, then decided she wanted to build a fort. Caleb helped her drag blankets and chairs into position while Elena watched from the couch, still looking like she'd landed in an alternate universe. You can help, Maya told her. I don't know how to build forts. Everyone knows how to build forts. Maya grabbed her hand again. Come on, I'll teach you. So Elena ended up on the floor of Caleb's living room, following a 6-year-old's instructions on proper fort architecture, looking more focused than she probably did in actual business meetings. They built the fort. Maya declared it perfect. They all climbed inside, cramped and ridiculous and completely unnecessary, and Maya made them play a game she'd invented that had no rules Caleb could identify. Elena played along, laughed when she was supposed to, let Maya boss her around. And Caleb watched this woman who ran a billion-dollar company sit cross-legged in a blanket fort, asking his daughter serious questions about T-Rex hunting strategies, and he thought, this is going to end badly, because it had to. People from her world didn't stay in his. This was temporary. A pause. A strange interlude brought on by a snowstorm and bad timing. But for now, just for now, he let himself exist in it. They ordered pizza for dinner because Caleb hadn't planned for a guest, and his fridge was looking bare. Maya insisted on picking the toppings, pineapple and ham, which Elena claimed to hate until she tried it and admitted it wasn't terrible. Never tell anyone I said that, Elena said. I have a reputation. As what? Maya asked. Someone who has very strong opinions about pizza. That's a weird reputation. Yeah, well, adults are weird. After dinner, Maya wanted to show Elena her drawings. She had hundreds of them. Animals, dinosaurs, space, her family, which was just her and Caleb drawn in bright crayon, sometimes with a cat, even though they didn't have a cat. Elena looked at each one like it was art in a museum, asked questions, made Maya explain her choices, and Maya glowed under that attention in a way that made Caleb's chest hurt. When had she last had someone other than him pay attention like this? When had she last had another adult in her life who wasn't a teacher or a babysitter or someone paid to care? He tried to be enough. He tried to be mother and father and everything Maya needed. But watching her with Elena, he realized how much she'd been missing. At 8:30, Maya started yawning. Caleb told her it was bedtime and she protested, but not much. She hugged Elena goodnight, made her promise to stay until morning, then let Caleb carry her upstairs. I really like Elena, Maya said as he tucked her in. I know, baby. Is she going to come back? Caleb smoothed her hair back. I don't know. She should. She fits. Fits what? With us. Maya yawned again. We should keep her. She's not a dinosaur, Maya. She has her own life. But she's sad in her own life. She's happy here. How do you know that? Because she smiles different now than she did this morning. Maya's eyes were already closing. We make her smile better. Caleb kissed her forehead, turned on her nightlight, and left her to sleep. When he came back downstairs, Elena was cleaning up the pizza boxes, looking out of place and natural at the same time. You don't have to do that, he said. I know, but I wanted to. She threw the boxes in the recycling, turned to face him. Your daughter is extraordinary. Yeah, she is. She said I fit. She says that about stray cats, too. We can't adopt all of them. Elena smiled. I'm not a stray cat. Aren't you? That made her pause. Maybe. A little. She leaned against the counter. I should go home. My actual home. Face reality. You should stay. Caleb. Roads are still bad. You're still recovering. And Maya will be devastated if you're gone in the morning. He met her eyes. Stay. Elena looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay. They ended up on the couch again, the TV on low, neither of them really watching. The house had settled into that particular quiet of late evening, where the day's energy had faded and everything felt softer. Can I ask you something? Elena said. Sure. Why didn't you call security? Caleb thought about how to answer that. Because you asked me not to. That's not a reason. It is for me. He looked at her. You want the complicated answer? Yes. When Maya's mom left, she didn't say goodbye. Just packed a bag one night while I was at work and disappeared. Left a note that said she couldn't do this anymore. Couldn't be a mother. Couldn't be tied down. He paused. Maya was 3. She woke up asking for mommy, and I had to tell her mommy was gone. And the worst part wasn't that she left. It was that nobody helped. Nobody noticed she was drowning until she'd already gone under. Elena was very still. So when I see someone drowning, Caleb continued, I help, because I know what happens when nobody does. I'm not drowning. You were last night. Elena didn't argue with that. I'm sorry about your wife. Ex-wife. And don't be. We're better off. Are you? Maya is. That's what matters. He shifted, looked at her directly. What about you? What pushed you to that floor? Elena was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was different, smaller. My father built this company, spent his whole life building it. And when he decided to step back, he chose me to take over. Not because I asked for it, because he expected it. And you said yes. I didn't know how to say no. I was 26, youngest CEO in the company's history. Everyone watched to see if I'd fail. She looked down at her hands. So I made sure I wouldn't. Worked harder than anyone, longer hours, no mistakes, no weakness, just perfect control. That sounds lonely. It is. She looked up at him. Last night I was in my office finishing a report. Everyone else had gone home. The storm was getting worse, but I had to finish, had to get it right. And I couldn't anymore. My chest hurt. My hands were shaking. The room started spinning, and I tried to get to the elevator, tried to get somewhere private before... She stopped. Before you fell apart, Caleb finished. Yeah, and you couldn't call anyone because if they knew I was weak, if they saw me like that... She shook her head. My father would see it as failure. The board would question my ability to lead. I can't be weak. That's not weakness. That's being human. In my world, those are the same thing. Caleb looked at her, this woman who'd been taught that needing help was failure, that vulnerability was unacceptable, that she had to be perfect or be nothing. And he thought about Maya, about teaching her that it was okay to need people, okay to not have all the answers. Your world's wrong, he said quietly. Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. Tell that to the shareholders. I'm telling you. She met his eyes, and something passed between them. Recognition, maybe. Understanding that they came from different places but ended up in the same kind of alone. I should sleep, Elena said finally. Tomorrow's going to be complicated. Oh, you can have my bed. I'll take the couch. Absolutely not. I'm not kicking you out of your bed. I've slept on this couch 1,000 times. It's fine. Caleb? Elena. He stood up. You're still recovering. Take the bed. She looked like she wanted to argue, but exhaustion won. Thank you. He showed her upstairs, gave her space and privacy, came back down and settled onto the couch that was definitely too short, and lay there in the dark wondering what tomorrow would bring. Outside, the city was quiet under its blanket of snow. Inside, his house held 2 people who shouldn't fit together but somehow did. And Caleb knew, with absolute certainty, that this fragile peace couldn't last. But tonight, just for tonight, it was enough. Morning came too fast and wrong. Caleb woke to his phone buzzing on the coffee table, neck stiff from the couch. And for a moment he forgot why he wasn't in his own bed. Then he remembered. Elena upstairs. Maya probably already awake. The world outside still buried in snow, but the roads would be clearing, and with cleared roads came reality. The phone kept buzzing. Unknown number. He let it go to voicemail, sat up, and tried to work the kinks out of his shoulder. Footsteps upstairs. The shower running, Maya's voice singing something about pterodactyls. His phone buzzed again, same number. This time he answered. Mr. Ward? A woman's voice, professional and cold. This is Catherine Mills. I'm calling on behalf of Richard Voss. Caleb's stomach dropped. How did you get this number? Mr. Voss would like to speak with you. In person. Today. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Ward, we both know that's not true. A pause. A car will arrive at your home at 11 o'clock. Mr. Voss expects you at the estate by noon. Don't be late. The line went dead. Caleb stared at his phone, trying to process what had just happened. They knew. Somehow they knew Elena had been here, knew his name, knew where he lived, which meant they'd been watching. Tracking her phone, maybe, or checking security footage, or... Daddy? Maya appeared at the bottom of the stairs in her pajamas, clutching Rex. Who was on the phone? Nobody, baby. Just work stuff. He stood up, forced a smile. You hungry? Is Elena still here? Yeah, she's upstairs. Good. Maya ran toward the kitchen. Can we make waffles? They made waffles. Elena came down 20 minutes later wearing her own clothes from 2 days ago, cleaned as best she could manage, hair pulled back, looking more like the woman from the tower and less like the person who'd built blanket forts. She saw Caleb's face and knew something had changed. What happened? She asked quietly, while Maya was distracted with syrup. Your father called. Well, someone who works for him called. Caleb kept his voice low. They're sending a car. He wants to see me. Elena went very still. When? 11. At his estate. No, you're not going. I don't think it's a request. I don't care. You can't. She stopped, looked at Maya, lowered her voice even more. My father isn't someone you say no to, but you can't go there alone. I'll come with you. That's probably worse. I don't care. Her jaw was set in a way that reminded him why she ran a company. This is my fault. I brought this into your life. I'll deal with it. Elena, is everything okay? Maya was looking at them now, syrup-sticky fingers frozen halfway to her mouth. Everything's fine, Elena said, and her voice changed completely, warm and easy. I was just telling your dad I need to go home today. Maya's face fell. But you said you'd stay. I know, sweetheart, but I have work I have to do. Can you come back? Elena looked at Caleb, something desperate in her eyes. I hope so. They ate breakfast in uncomfortable silence. Maya kept trying to convince Elena to stay, listing all the things they could do, more dinosaurs, a movie, building a bigger fort. Elena played along, but Caleb could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she kept checking her phone. At 10:30, Elena pulled him aside while Maya was getting dressed. I'm coming with you, she said. It wasn't a question. You don't have to. Yes, I do. You helped me when I asked you to. Now I'm helping you. She looked toward the stairs where Maya was singing. Your daughter doesn't need to lose her father because he got caught up in my mess. That's a little dramatic. You don't know my father. Something in her voice made him stop arguing. The car arrived at 11 exactly. Black sedan, tinted windows, driver in a suit who didn't say a word. Caleb left Maya with his neighbor, the same one who'd watched her 100 times, who asked no questions when he said he had something important to do. Be good, he told Maya. I'm always good. She hugged him tight. Will Elena be here when you get back? Caleb looked at Elena, who was standing by the car trying not to look terrified. I don't know, baby. The drive took 40 minutes. Out of the city, into suburbs that got progressively more expensive until they reached a neighborhood where houses were called estates and had gates. The Voss estate sat at the end of a private drive, stone and glass and old money, the kind of place that made Caleb's house look like a shed. Last chance to turn back, Elena said. We're already here. That's not an answer. The car stopped at the front entrance. The driver opened the door without a word. Caleb and Elena got out into cold air and winter sun, and the door shut behind them with the finality of a trap closing. A woman met them at the entrance. 50s, severe suit, the same voice from the phone call. Catherine Mills. "Ms. Voss," she said without warmth, "your father is waiting in the library. Mr. Ward, you'll come with me." "He stays with me," Elena said. "Your father wants to speak with him privately." "I don't care what my father wants." Catherine's expression didn't change. "Ms. Voss, I'd advise you not to make this more difficult than it needs to be. And I'd advise you to remember who signs your paychecks." Something flickered in Catherine's eyes. Not quite respect, but close. "This way." She led them through hallways that felt like museums, art on the walls that probably cost more than Caleb would make in his lifetime, floors so polished you could see your reflection. Elena walked like she knew every inch of this place and hated all of it. They stopped at a set of double doors, heavy wood, ornate handles. Catherine knocked once and opened them without waiting for an answer. The library was exactly what Caleb expected. Walls of books, leather furniture, a fireplace that looked like it had never been used. And standing by the window, looking out at gardens buried in snow, was Richard Voss. He turned when they entered, and Caleb understood immediately why people were afraid of this man. Not because he was physically imposing, he was average height, late 60s, gray hair carefully styled. But his eyes held a kind of cold calculation that made you feel like an equation he was solving. "Elena." His voice was measured, controlled. "I'm glad you're safe." "No, you're not." Elena walked into the room like she owned it. "You're angry I disappeared." "I'm concerned you felt you needed to." Richard's gaze shifted to Caleb. "And you must be Mr. Ward." "Yes, sir." "The janitor who found my daughter." It wasn't a question, and the way he said janitor made it clear what he thought about Caleb's place in the world. "I found someone who needed help," Caleb said. "I helped her." How noble. Richard moved away from the window, each step deliberate. "Catherine, leave us." "Elena, you too." "I'm staying," Elena said. "This doesn't concern you." "Everything about me concerns me." Richard looked at his daughter with something that might have been frustration or might have been respect. Hard to tell. "Fine. Sit down if you're staying. Mr. Ward, you'll sit as well." Caleb sat in a leather chair that probably cost more than his truck. Elena sat next to him, close enough that he could feel her tension. Richard remained standing, a position of power he'd probably perfected over decades. "Let me be direct, Mr. Ward. I need to understand what happened 2 nights ago. Your daughter was sick. I helped her by taking her to your home, alone, without informing anyone. She asked me not to call security. And you always do what people ask? When they're scared and sick? Yeah." Richard's expression didn't change. "You work for Capital Cleaning Services, 3 years with the company. Before that, various retail jobs. High school graduate, no college. Single father to a 6-year-old daughter named Maya." He paused. "Your ex-wife left when the child was 3. You've been raising her alone ever since on approximately $32,000 a year." Caleb felt his hands tighten on the chair arms. They'd investigated him, pulled his whole life apart in less than a day. "That's creepy as hell," he said. "That's due diligence." Richard moved to his desk, picked up a folder. "I need to know who my daughter was with. What kind of man takes a stranger to his home without asking questions? The kind who has a daughter and knows what it's like to need help? Or the kind who sees an opportunity?" Elena stood up. "Stop it. Sit down, Elena." "No." She moved between them, facing her father. "Caleb helped me because I asked him to. Because I was terrified of ending up here, having this exact conversation. He didn't ask for anything, didn't want anything. He was kind." "Kindness without motive is rare," Richard said. "Maybe in your world. It's your world too, whether you like it or not." Richard set the folder down, looked at Caleb. "What did she tell you about the company? About our business?" "Nothing." "You expect me to believe you spent 2 days with her and she said nothing?" "She told me she was tired, that she pushed herself too hard. That's it." "Did you discuss money?" "No." "Did she promise you anything?" "No." "Did you take photographs? Record any conversations?" Caleb stood up, done with this. "I'm not doing this. I helped someone who needed help. If that's suspicious to you, that's your problem. Mr. Ward, I've got a daughter at home who doesn't understand why I had to leave this morning. I've got a job I'll probably lose because of this. And I've got no interest in whatever test you're running here. He looked at Elena. I'm going to walk out that door. You can stay or come. Up to you. He turned toward the exit. I could destroy you, Richard said quietly. Caleb stopped. Didn't turn around. Yeah, probably. You got the money and the power. But you don't get to make me afraid of you. Everyone's afraid of something, Mr. Ward. Not of you. Now Caleb did turn. Because the worst you can do is take away my job, maybe my apartment, maybe make it hard for me to find work. And you know what? I've been broke before. I've been scared before. I've been alone with a kid to feed and no idea how to make rent. I survived that. I'll survive whatever you throw at me. Something changed in Richard's face. Not softness, exactly. More like recognition. You love your daughter very much, Richard said. More than anything. I understand that. I love mine too. Funny way of showing it. Excuse me? Caleb gestured around the room. All this, the investigation, the intimidation, the pulling me away from my kid. You're not protecting Elena. You're controlling her. You've known her for 2 days. Don't presume to understand our relationship. I know she ended up passed out on a floor because she couldn't tell you she was drowning. That tells me everything I need to know. The room went very quiet. Richard walked to his desk, sat down behind it. You have a very direct manner of speaking, Mr. Ward. I clean toilets for a living. Doesn't leave much room for bullshit. Clearly, Richard steepled his fingers, studied Caleb like he was a puzzle that didn't fit any familiar pattern. What do you want from this situation? I want to go home to my daughter. And my daughter? That's up to her. Is it? Richard looked at Elena. You've been very quiet. Elena had been standing there watching this entire exchange like she couldn't believe it was happening. I don't know what you want me to say. I want you to explain what you were thinking. Disappearing without a word, shutting off your phone. Do you have any idea what could have happened? The scandals we're dealing with because the CEO of Voss Industries vanished for 2 days? I was sick. You were reckless. I was human. Elena's voice cracked. I was tired and sick, and I didn't know how to ask for help because you taught me that asking for help is weakness. So when someone offered it without making me beg, I took it. And if that's reckless, if that's wrong, then I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry I met Caleb. Richard was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, walked to the window again, looked out at the snow-covered grounds. The board wants to know where you were. What should I tell them? Tell them I was sick. Tell them I took 2 days to recover. Tell them the truth. The truth is complicated. The truth is simple. I got sick. Someone helped me. I'm better now. Elena moved to stand next to her father. You don't have to understand it. You just have to let it go. And him? Richard didn't turn from the window. What do we do about Mr. Ward? We thank him and leave him alone. He's a liability. He's a good man who didn't deserve to get dragged into this. Richard finally looked at her. You care about him. I barely know him. That's not an answer. Elena met her father's gaze without flinching. He showed me kindness when I needed it most. Yes, I care about that. I care about him. And if you try to hurt him or his daughter to protect some imaginary scandal, I'll quit. I'll walk away from the company, from all of this. And you can explain to the board why you lost your CEO over your own paranoia. Caleb had never heard someone threaten their father with such calm certainty. He'd also never seen a man like Richard Voss look genuinely surprised. You wouldn't, Richard said. Try me. Father and daughter stared at each other, and Caleb could see decades of history in that look. Fights and compromises, and a love that looked like control because neither of them knew any other way to show it. Finally, Richard turned to Caleb. You understand discretion, Mr. Ward? I understand minding my own business. Can you sign a non-disclosure agreement? Can I read it first? That got something that might have been a smile. Barely. Catherine will draw one up. You'll agree not to speak to the press about my daughter or your interaction with her. In exchange, your job is secure, and any reasonable expenses related to this situation will be compensated. I don't want your money. Consider it payment for lost wages and inconvenience. I don't take the money, Elena said quietly. Please, let me do this one thing. Caleb looked at her and saw someone who needed to fix what she'd broken, even though she hadn't broken anything. Okay, but nothing crazy, just if I lost hours at work, that's it. Richard nodded to Catherine, who'd been standing silent by the door the entire time. She left to prepare the document. You're an unusual man, Mr. Ward, Richard said. I'm really not. You walked into my home, told me I'm a bad father, refused my money, and somehow convinced my daughter to threaten her career over you. I'd call that unusual. I call it Tuesday. This time Richard definitely smiled. Small, controlled, but real. Elena, I'd like to speak with Mr. Ward alone for a moment. Elena looked at Caleb. He nodded. She left, reluctant, and the door closed behind her. Richard walked back to his desk, pulled out a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. Drink? It's noon. It's been a complicated morning. He poured 2 glasses without waiting for an answer, handed one to Caleb. My daughter thinks I'm controlling. Your daughter's not wrong. No, she's not. Richard took a sip. I built this company from almost nothing. My father left me a failing business and impossible debt. I turned it into what it is now. Everything I did, every decision I made, was to ensure Elena would have something worth inheriting. Did she ask for that? She didn't have to. It's what fathers do. We build futures for our children. Or we let them build their own. Richard looked at him over the glass. You don't understand the pressure, the expectations, the weight of legacy. You're right. I don't. I've got a kid who wants to be a paleontologist and find dinosaur bones. That's the only legacy I'm worried about, making sure she's happy and knows she's loved. It's easier when you have less to lose. Maybe. Or maybe you've got so much you forgot what matters. Richard set his glass down. You remind me of someone. Elena's mother. She used to challenge me like this, question everything, refuse to be intimidated. His voice softened slightly. She died 10 years ago. Cancer. Very fast. Very brutal. Caleb didn't know what to say to that. I made promises to her before she died, Richard continued, that I'd take care of Elena, keep her safe, build something that would outlast both of us. He looked at Caleb directly. I'm not a bad father. I'm a frightened one, because I know what this world does to people, especially women who show weakness, and I will not let my daughter be destroyed by it. So you destroy her yourself. I prepare her. You suffocate her. Richard's jaw tightened. You've known her for 2 days. Don't tell me how to raise my daughter. I'm not. I'm telling you what I saw. A woman so afraid of disappointing you that she'd rather collapse on a floor than admit she needed help. Caleb set his untouched whiskey down. That's not preparation. That's damage. They stood there in silence, the truth sitting heavy between them. What do you want from her? Richard asked finally. Nothing. Everyone wants something. I want her to be okay. That's it. Caleb moved toward the door. If I sign your paper and walk out that door, will you leave her alone about this? Let her be sick without it being some kind of failure? Richard studied him for a long moment. You're either very noble or very stupid. Everyone keeps saying that. Maybe it's both. Catherine returned with the NDA. Caleb read it. Basic stuff. Nothing predatory. He signed it. Richard signed as witness. The whole thing took 5 minutes to make legal what Caleb had planned to do anyway. Keep his mouth shut and his head down. We're done here, Richard said. Caleb nodded and walked toward the door. Mr. Ward? He stopped, turned back. Thank you, Richard said quietly, for helping her when I couldn't. Caleb didn't know what to say to that either, so he just left. Elena was waiting in the hallway, pacing. She stopped when she saw him. Everything okay? She asked. Yeah, we talked. I signed his paper. It's done. What did he say to you? That he's scared, that he loves you, that he doesn't know how to do both at the same time. Caleb looked at her. You should talk to him. Really talk, not whatever fight you two have been having for years. It's not that simple. It never is. They walked to the front entrance together. The car was waiting. The driver opened his door. Where are you going now? Elena asked. Home, to Maya, to my life. He looked at her. Where are you going? Back to the office, probably. Damage control, board meetings, all the things I missed. She didn't sound happy about it. You could take another day. I could, but I won't. She met his eyes. Can I see you again? You and Maya? I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? Because your world and mine don't mix. Because it was good, but it was temporary. Snow day magic. Real life doesn't work like that. Maybe it could. Elena, I know it's complicated. I know there are 100 reasons why this is impossible. She stepped closer. But I haven't felt this human in years. And I don't want to lose that. Caleb wanted to say yes. Wanted to tell her to come over for dinner, meet Maya at the park, be part of their small, strange life. But he'd learned the hard way that wanting something didn't make it possible. You've got my number, he said finally. If you want to call, call. But don't make promises you can't keep. Not to me, and especially not to Maya. Elena nodded. Okay. He got in the car. She stayed on the steps of her father's estate, looking smaller somehow against all that stone and money. The car pulled away and Caleb watched her disappear through the rear window, and he knew this was probably the last time he'd see her. The drive back was quiet. Caleb stared out the window at suburbs giving way to city, at the world returning to normal after the storm. His phone buzzed, text from his neighbor. Maya's fine, ate lunch, asking when you're coming home. On my way. 20 minutes. He tipped the driver more than he should have when they reached his house. Walked up the path he'd shoveled yesterday. Opened the door to his small, warm, completely normal life. Maya tackled him before he could even take his coat off. You're back. Is Elena coming back too? Not today, baby. But soon? Maybe. I don't know. Maya's face fell. I really liked her. I know you did. Did we do something wrong? Is that why she's not coming back? Caleb picked her up, even though she was getting too big for it. You didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes grown-ups just have complicated lives. That's a dumb reason. Yeah, it kind of is. They made dinner together, spaghetti and meatballs, Maya's favorite. She told him about her day with the neighbor, about the show she watched, about the picture she drew of a T-Rex family. Normal kid stuff. But Caleb could see her checking the door every few minutes, hoping Elena would walk through it. He put Maya to bed early. She didn't fight it, just asked one more time if Elena would visit. I hope so, Caleb said, because lying felt worse than hope. After Maya fell asleep, he sat on the couch where Elena had slept 2 nights ago and tried to process everything, the phone call, the estate. Richard Voss looking at him like he was a problem to solve. Elena standing in that hallway looking lost. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then he did. Caleb? Elena's voice, quiet and rough. I'm outside. Can I come in? He looked toward the window, and there she was, standing on his front porch in the cold, no car in sight, looking like she'd walked all the way from her father's estate, even though that was impossible. Caleb hung up and opened the door. How did you get here? He asked. Taxi, then I walked the last few blocks because I wasn't sure which house was yours and I didn't want to knock on the wrong door. She was shivering, underdressed for the cold. Can I come in? He stepped aside. She came in and he closed the door against the winter night. Why are you here? He asked. Because you were right, about everything. My father, my life, all of it. She pulled off her coat with shaking hands. I went back to the office, sat in meetings, answered questions about where I'd been, and the whole time I just kept thinking about your kitchen and Maya's dinosaurs and how I felt more real in 2 days here than I have in years anywhere else. Elena Sheep? I'm not asking for anything. I don't know what I'm asking for. She looked at him with red-rimmed eyes. I just needed to see you again, to make sure it was real. It was real. Was. Is. I don't know. This whole thing it's a lot. I know. She wrapped her arms around herself. I should go. I'm sorry. This was stupid. It wasn't stupid. Caleb moved closer. But I meant what I said. I can't let Maya get attached to someone who's going to disappear. I won't disappear. You say that now, but your life is board meetings in Singapore and decisions that affect thousands of people. Mine is dinosaur pajamas and spaghetti dinners and a 40-hour week that pays barely enough. Those worlds don't overlap. They could. How? Elena didn't have an answer. They stood there in his small entryway, the space between them full of things neither knew how to say. Finally, Elena moved toward the door. "I'm sorry," she said, "for all of it. For disrupting your life. For making Maya hope for something that probably can't happen. For wanting something I shouldn't want." "What do you want?" Caleb asked. She turned back, met his eyes. "This. You. The way I feel when I'm here. Like I can breathe for the first time in years. That's not me. That's you finally slowing down enough to notice you were suffocating. Maybe. But you're the one who taught me that was possible." She left before he could respond, walked out into the cold night, and Caleb watched her go, and every part of him wanted to call her back. But he didn't. Because Maya was upstairs sleeping, and his daughter deserved stability more than he deserved whatever this was with Elena. So he closed the door, locked it, and went to bed in his own room for the first time in 3 days, and told himself this was the right choice, even if it didn't feel like it. 3 days passed like slow torture. Caleb went back to work Friday night, back to the 53rd floor of Voss Tower, back to pushing his cart down empty hallways and pretending nothing had changed. But everything had changed. He saw Elena's office every time he passed it, lights off, door closed, no sign anyone had been there recently. He saw the spot where he'd found her collapsed, saw the service elevator they'd taken, saw the ghost of something that felt important and impossible at the same time. Marcus noticed something was off. "You good, man?" he asked during their break in the basement cafeteria. "You've been weird all night. Just tired." "Yeah, well, join the club." Marcus bit into a sandwich that looked 3 days old. "Hey, you hear about the CEO? Apparently she was out sick earlier this week. First time in like 6 years she's taken time off." Caleb's coffee suddenly tasted like metal. "Where'd you hear that?" "Email from management. Whole thing about how even leadership needs to prioritize health, or some corporate BS. Marcus shrugged. "Probably got the flu. Rich people get sick too, I guess." "Yeah, I guess." Caleb finished his shift, drove home through streets that had finally been plowed, and tried not to think about Elena standing on his porch 3 nights ago, looking like she'd lost something she couldn't name. He'd done the right thing, protected Maya, protected himself. So why did it feel like he'd made a mistake? Maya asked about Elena every single day. "Is she coming to visit?" "I don't know, baby. Can we call her?" "She's busy with work." "But she said she liked me." "She does like you." "Then why doesn't she come see me?" Caleb didn't have a good answer for that. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that sometimes people come into your life and change everything and then leave because the universe isn't built for happy endings? Saturday morning, he took Maya to the park. She played on the swings while he sat on a bench and watched, and everything felt normal except for the hole that had opened up in his chest that he couldn't explain and couldn't fix. His phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. "This is Elena. I got your number from the NDA paperwork. I hope that's okay." He stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. "It's okay." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "How are you?" "Fine. You?" "Busy. Back to normal. Board meetings and conference calls and everything I was doing before." "Good." The dots appeared and stayed there for almost a minute. "I miss your kitchen." Caleb looked at his phone, at those 4 words that shouldn't have hit as hard as they did. "I miss having someone to cook for," he typed, then deleted it. "Too honest. Too much. Maya asks about you," he sent instead. "Tell her I miss her dinosaurs. You should tell her yourself." The dots disappeared. No response came. Caleb pocketed his phone and tried to focus on Maya, on the normal Saturday morning they were supposed to be having. But his mind kept drifting back to those text messages, to the space between what people said and what they meant. Sunday, the news broke. Caleb was making breakfast when his phone started buzzing with alerts. News notifications, texts from coworkers, even a call from his neighbor asking if he'd seen what was happening. He pulled up the news on his phone and his stomach dropped. The headline read, "Voss Industries CEO's mystery disappearance sparks board concerns." The article was brutal. Anonymous sources questioning Elena's stability, her ability to lead, whether her unexplained absence earlier in the week indicated deeper problems. Photos of her looking exhausted at some event, speculation about her health, her personal life, whether Richard Voss was preparing to replace her. His phone rang. Elena. Don't read it, she said when he answered. No hello, no preamble. Whatever you're reading, stop. Too late. It's not true, most of it. The parts that are true are twisted. Her voice was tight, controlled, but he could hear the stress underneath. My father's handling it. PR is handling it. It'll blow over. This is because you took 2 days off? This is because someone on the board saw an opportunity to question my leadership and ran with it. A pause. And because I was stupid enough to think I could have something for myself without it becoming ammunition. Caleb moved to the living room, away from where Maya was watching cartoons. They know about me? No, the NDA protects that. This is just... They're using my absence to paint a narrative about instability. She sounded exhausted. I knew this would happen. I knew it, and I did it anyway. You were sick. You're allowed to be sick. Not in my world. Then your world is broken. Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. Yeah, it really is. They were quiet for a moment, the phone line crackling with distance and things unsaid. I have to go, Elena said finally. Emergency board meeting in an hour. I wanted you to know this isn't your fault. I know. And that I don't regret it, any of it. Before Caleb could respond, she hung up. He stood there with his phone in his hand, watching the news cycle tear apart someone whose only crime was being human for 2 days, and he felt anger building in his chest like a fire. The week got worse. More articles appeared. Photos of Elena leaving the Voss Tower looking exhausted. Opinion pieces about whether she was fit to lead. Rumors about her personal life, her health, her relationship with her father. It was feeding frenzy, and Caleb watched it from his small house in the suburbs, feeling helpless and furious. Maya noticed the change in him. What's wrong, Daddy? Nothing, baby. You keep looking at your phone and making angry faces. Just work stuff. Is it about Elena? He looked at his daughter, at her too perceptive eyes, and decided she deserved some version of the truth. Yeah, some people are being mean to her. Why? Because she took time off when she was sick, and they think that's bad. Maya's face scrunched up in confusion. That's stupid. Everyone gets sick. I know. Can we help her? I don't know how. We could call her, tell her we still like her. Caleb pulled Maya into a hug. That's a good idea, baby. He texted Elena that night after Maya was in bed. Maya says to tell you she still likes you and that the people being mean are stupid. The response came almost immediately. Tell Maya she's smarter than most of the board. You holding up okay? Define okay. Still breathing? Still standing? Then yes, barely. What can I do? The dots appeared and disappeared several times. Nothing. This is my mess. I'll deal with it. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Caleb stared at his phone, at the careful distance she was putting between them even as everything fell apart. He understood it. Understood she was trying to protect him the same way he was trying to protect Maya. But understanding didn't make it hurt less. The next morning, he woke up to more news. This time, it wasn't just articles, it was photos. Someone had leaked security footage from Voss Tower. Grainy black and white images of Caleb helping Elena into the service elevator, carrying her through the parking garage. The photos were time-stamped from the night of the storm. The headlines were vicious. Mystery Man helps CEO during breakdown. And who is the stranger who rescued Elena Voss? And worst of all, Voss CEO's secret relationship raises questions about judgment. His phone exploded with calls and texts. Reporters had found his name, his address, his Facebook page that he never used. They were parked outside his house by 7 a.m., cameras and microphones and questions he had no interest in answering. Maya couldn't go to school. Caleb called in sick to work. They stayed inside with the curtains drawn while strangers picked apart their lives on national television. Daddy, why are there people outside? Maya asked, peeking through the curtains at the news vans. They're just doing their jobs, baby. Their jobs are weird. Yeah, they really are. His phone rang. Elena. I'm so sorry. Her voice was wrecked. I'm so sorry, Caleb. This wasn't supposed to happen. The NDA was supposed to protect you, and now it's not your fault. It is. Someone leaked that footage deliberately. Someone who knew it would make things worse. She was crying now, trying to hide it, and failing. My father's lawyer is drawing up cease and desist orders. We'll sue anyone who prints your name or shows your face. Elena, stop. I can't stop. I did this to you, to Maya. You didn't do anything except be sick and let someone help you. Caleb looked at his daughter, who was building something with blocks and trying to pretend she couldn't hear him. This is what they do, powerful people protecting their power by destroying anyone who threatens it. I'll fix this. How? She didn't answer. That afternoon, Richard Voss called him directly. Mr. Ward, I assume you've seen the news. Hard to miss when it's camped on my lawn. My lawyers are handling it. By end of day, they'll be gone. And tomorrow? Next week? This doesn't just disappear because you send lawyers. Richard was quiet for a moment. You're right. It doesn't. Which is why I'm calling with a proposal. I'm not interested in your money. It's not about money. It's about protection. Richard's voice was careful, measured. I can make this story go away, control the narrative, paint you as a good Samaritan who helped my daughter in a moment of crisis and nothing more. But I need your cooperation. What kind of cooperation? A press statement, brief, vetted, emphasizing that you barely knew Elena, that you helped as anyone would have, that there's no relationship between you. Then you disappear back into your life and this dies. You want me to lie. I want you to protect your daughter from what comes next if you don't. Caleb felt that anger from before turning into something colder. And what comes next? Escalation. More cameras, more questions. Someone digging into your ex-wife's departure, your finances, every mistake you've ever made becoming public entertainment. Richard paused. I've seen it happen. Good people destroyed because they were in the wrong place when the cameras were watching. I'm offering you a way out. By pretending Elena and I are nothing to each other. Aren't you? The question hung there like a knife. Let me talk to her, Caleb said. That's not, let me talk to Elena. Then I'll give you my answer. Oh, Richard agreed reluctantly. An hour later, a car arrived. Not the town car from before, but an unmarked sedan with tinted windows. The driver handed Caleb a phone. She's waiting, he said. Caleb got in the back seat, and the driver pulled away from the cameras, giving him privacy. Hi. Elena's voice came through the phone, small and tired. Hi. My father told you his plan? Yeah. It's a good plan. It protects you, protects Maya, makes all of this go away. By erasing what happened between us. What happened between us was 2 days, Caleb, a snow day. It doesn't have to define anything. He could hear what she wasn't saying, that she was giving him an out, that she understood if he took it. Is that what you want? He asked. What I want doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters. Elena was quiet for so long he thought she'd hung up. Then, I want you to be safe. I want Maya to be safe. I want you both to have the normal life you deserve without my mess destroying it. That's what you think I deserve? Normal? You have a daughter who needs stability. I have a daughter who needs to see that standing up for what matters is worth the cost. And what matters here, Caleb? He looked out the window at the city passing by, at the world that wanted to make them both smaller and simpler than they were. The truth matters, that you were sick and I helped you, that we spent 2 days being human together, that whatever this is between us, it's real. It's not a scandal or a story or something that needs to be managed. The board won't see it that way. I don't care about the board. I do. They're threatening a vote of no confidence. My father's support is the only thing keeping me in position, and even that's shaky. Her voice cracked. If I don't handle this perfectly, I lose everything I've worked for. You already lost it. The moment you had to choose between being human and being CEO, you lost. That's not fair. No, it's not. None of this is fair. Caleb pressed his hand against the cold window. But I'm not going to stand in front of cameras and pretend you don't matter. I won't do that to Maya, won't teach her that caring about people is something you hide when it gets difficult. Then what do? We tell the truth.
Simple version. You got sick, I helped, we became friends.
Anyone who wants to make that into something ugly, that's on them. They'll make it ugly anyway. Probably, but at least we won't be helping them. Elena was quiet again. Then, you're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Everyone keeps saying that, because it's true. A pause. Okay, we do it your way. But I'm holding the press conference. You don't have to say anything publicly. Just let me handle the cameras. Elena, please, let me do this one thing. Let me protect you even if I can't protect myself. Caleb wanted to argue, wanted to tell her they'd stand together, but he heard the desperation in her voice and knew she needed this, needed to feel like she was fixing something in a situation where everything was breaking. Okay, he said, your way. The press conference happened the next afternoon at Voss Tower. Caleb watched it on TV from his living room while Maya was at school. He'd finally convinced the reporters to leave by promising a statement was coming. Elena stood at a podium in a conference room, cameras everywhere, looking tired but composed. Her father stood behind her, along with several people Caleb assumed were lawyers and board members. Thank you for coming, Elena began, her voice clear and professional. I'm here to address the speculation surrounding my absence earlier this week and to clarify the facts. She looked directly at the cameras, and Caleb could see the effort it took to stay calm. On the night of February 15th, I became ill while working late at the office. I was experiencing severe symptoms and became disoriented. A member of the building's cleaning staff, Caleb Ward, found me and offered assistance. Mr. Ward helped me to safety and ensured I received appropriate rest and care during the worst of the storm that night. Someone shouted a question. Elena ignored it. Mr. Ward acted with kindness and professionalism. There is no relationship between us beyond gratitude on my part for his assistance during a medical emergency. Any suggestion otherwise is false and frankly disrespectful to a man who simply did the right thing when someone needed help. More questions. A chaos of voices. Elena held up her hand. I take full responsibility for not following proper protocol when I became ill. I should have contacted my assistant or security. However, I was not thinking clearly due to fever and exhaustion. Mr. Ward's actions may have prevented a much worse outcome, and I'm grateful to him. She glanced down at her notes, and Caleb could see her hand shaking slightly. As for my fitness to lead this company, I have worked here for 12 years, 6 as CEO. In that time, this company has grown by 40%, expanded into 3 new markets, and maintained consistent profitability even during economic downturns. I took 2 sick days, 2 days in 6 years. If that constitutes a crisis of leadership, then I question what standard we're holding our leaders to. Richard moved slightly behind her, and something passed between them. Support, maybe, or warning. I will not be resigning. I will not be stepping down. I will continue to lead this company with the same dedication I've shown for over a decade. Elena's voice got stronger, and I will not apologize for being human enough to get sick or for accepting help from someone kind enough to offer it. She stepped back from the podium. The room erupted with questions, but Elena was done. She walked out with her father and the lawyers, leaving the reporters to their frenzy. Caleb's phone rang before she'd even left the screen. Richard. She went off script, he said without preamble. That last part wasn't approved. Good for her. This isn't a game, Mr. Ward. I know, but maybe it should stop being a war. Richard was quiet for a moment. The board is meeting tonight. Emergency session. They're going to push for her removal. Can they do that? With enough votes? Yes. Another pause. I'll fight it, but I can't guarantee the outcome. What does Elena say? Elena is currently locked in her office, refusing to speak to anyone. Richard's voice held something Caleb hadn't heard before. Fear. She's been preparing for this job her entire life. If she loses it like this, I don't know what it does to her. Maybe it saves her, or destroys her. The line went dead. Caleb sat there staring at the TV, where pundits were already picking apart Elena's statement, debating her word choices, questioning her judgment. And he made a decision that was probably stupid and definitely risky, but felt like the only right thing left to do. He called his supervisor at the cleaning company. I need a favor, he said, and you're probably going to want to say no. By 5 p.m., Caleb was standing in the lobby of Voss Tower with a visitor pass and directions to the executive floor. The security guard had looked at him like he was crazy, but the supervisor had made the call, and apparently even in the middle of a corporate crisis, cleaning staff could access the building. He took the regular elevator this time, rode it to the 53rd floor where this had all started. The executive hallway was chaos, people rushing between offices, voices raised behind closed doors, the energy of an empire in crisis. Caleb walked past all of it to the corner office with Elena's name on the door. Knocked once. I said no visitors. Her voice, muffled and raw. It's me. Silence. Then the door opened. Elena stood there still in her press conference clothes, makeup smudged, eyes red from crying. She looked at him like he was a hallucination. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "Making sure you're okay." "I'm fine." "You're lying." She stepped back, let him in, closed the door. Her office was huge. Floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive furniture, a view of the city that probably cost more than his house. And Elena stood in the middle of it looking completely lost. "They're going to vote me out," she said. "The board. Tonight. My father's trying to stop it, but he doesn't have enough support." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. This is what I get for thinking I could have something for myself." She laughed, bitter and broken. 2 days. That's all I took, and it cost me everything. It wasn't the 2 days. It was them showing who they really are. Doesn't matter. Results the same. She walked to the window, looked out at the city. "You should go. Being seen with me right now won't help either of us." "I'm not here because it helps me." "Then why are you here?" Caleb moved closer. "Because that day in the park, Maya asked me if we could help you, and I told her I didn't know how, but I think I do now." Elena turned to look at him. "How?" "By not letting you face this alone." He pulled out his phone, opened it to a blank text message. "You're going to go into that board meeting tonight, and you're going to tell them the truth. Not the managed version, the real one. That you worked yourself into exhaustion trying to be perfect, that you got sick, that someone helped you, and that if they think any of that makes you weak, they're wrong. They won't listen. Maybe not, but you'll have said it, and tomorrow when you wake up, whether you're CEO or not, you'll know you told the truth." Elena looked at him, tears running down her face. "I'm scared." "I know. I don't know how to lose this job, this company. It's who I am." "No, it's what you do. Who you are is someone who built blanket forts with my daughter and asked questions about dinosaurs like they mattered. Who you are is someone brave enough to ask for help when you needed it." Caleb stepped closer. "The job doesn't define you. You define it." She closed the distance between them and hugged him, tight and desperate, and he held her while she cried into his shoulder. They stood there in her enormous office while her world crumbled outside, and for just a moment it didn't matter. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For seeing me. Not the CEO, just me. That's the only you I've ever seen." She pulled back, wiped her eyes. "I should fix my makeup. Board meeting in an hour." "You should go in looking exactly like this. Show them what their impossible standards cost." Elena actually smiled. "That would be quite a statement." "Best one you could make." She kissed him then, quick and soft and tasting like tears and expensive coffee. Then she stepped back, took a breath, and straightened her shoulders. "Okay," she said. "Let's do this." The board meeting happened in a conference room 2 floors down. Caleb wasn't allowed in, wasn't even supposed to be in the building, but he waited in the hallway outside while voices rose and fell behind heavy doors. It lasted 3 hours. When Elena finally emerged, she looked exhausted but steady. She saw Caleb and stopped. "Well?" he asked. "Split vote, 8-7. She leaned against the wall. "I keep my position. Barely." "That's good." "Is it? 8 people just voted that I'm unfit to lead. That's not exactly a victory." "You're still standing. That's victory enough." Richard appeared behind her, looking 10 years older than he had that morning. He saw Caleb and nodded once. Acknowledgement, maybe. Or respect. "You should go home," Richard said to his daughter. "Rest. Tomorrow's going to be difficult." "Tomorrow's always difficult." But Elena pushed off the wall. "Yeah, I'll go home." She walked with Caleb to the elevator. They rode down in silence, too tired for words. The lobby was empty now. The chaos of earlier faded into quiet. Outside, it had started snowing again. Light flurries, nothing like the storm that had started all this, but enough to dust the city in white. "Where are you parked?" Elena asked. "Few blocks over. Visitor parking was full. I'll walk with you." They walked through the empty streets, snow falling soft around them, and neither spoke until they reached his truck. "What happens now?" Caleb asked. "I don't know. Keep working. Keep fighting. Try not to collapse on any more floors." She smiled weakly. "What about you?" "Same as before. Maya, work, life. The normal stuff." "Think there's room in that normal stuff for an occasionally disastrous CEO who makes terrible decisions?" "Thought you said you didn't want to make promises you couldn't keep." "I don't, but I'm making this one anyway." Elena looked at him directly. "I want to see you again. And Maya, I want to try this. Whatever this is. It's going to be complicated. Everything worth having is." Caleb should have said no. Should have protected himself, protected Maya, protected the small, careful life they'd built. But he looked at Elena standing in the snow, looking scared and hopeful and real, and he couldn't. "Okay," he said. "We'll try." She kissed him again, longer this time, and the snow fell around them like the universe was giving them a second chance. When they pulled apart, Elena was smiling. "I have to warn you, I'm probably going to be terrible at this." "At what?" "Normal life, relationships, not working 80 hours a week." "Then it's good you have a 6-year-old to teach you." Caleb opened his truck door. "Come to dinner Sunday. Maya will lose her mind." "What should I bring?" "Just yourself. Maya will provide the dinosaurs." Elena laughed, real and bright, and Caleb thought maybe, just maybe, this insane thing might actually work. He drove home through the snow, and when he got there, Maya was already asleep. He checked on her, kissed her forehead, and whispered that Elena was coming to dinner. His phone buzzed. Text from Elena. "I meant what I said. I'm not going anywhere." "Good," he typed back. "Neither are we." Outside, the snow kept falling, and inside, Caleb felt something like hope. Sunday came, and Maya knew something was different the moment she woke up. She found Caleb in the kitchen at 7 a.m., actually cleaning. Not the usual quick wipe down, but real cleaning, scrubbing counters, organizing the pantry, even sweeping under the refrigerator. "Why are you being weird?" she asked, climbing onto her step stool. "I'm not being weird. I'm cleaning." "You only clean like this when Grandma visits. Is Grandma coming?" "No, Elena's coming for dinner." Maya's whole face lit up like someone had turned on a switch. "Really? Elena's really coming?" "Really?" "Yes." She pumped her fist, then immediately got serious. "We need to make the house perfect. She's fancy. She probably has fancy houses." "She does, but she liked our house just fine before." "That was different. She was sick. Now she's coming on purpose." Maya looked around the kitchen with critical 6-year-old eyes. "We need flowers. Fancy people like flowers. We don't have any flowers. Then we should get some." So they spent the morning at the grocery store, Maya insisting on picking out flowers. She chose daisies because they're happy and Elena needs happy, and debating what to make for dinner. Maya voted for dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets. Caleb suggested maybe something slightly more adult. They compromised on homemade spaghetti and meatballs with a side of nuggets, just in case. By 5 p.m., the house was cleaner than it had been in months. Maya had changed her outfit 3 times, finally settling on her favorite dress. The purple one with dinosaurs on it, because she insisted Elena would appreciate the dinosaur representation. Caleb had put on a clean shirt and spent way too much time wondering if he should have bought wine before deciding that was overthinking it. Elena arrived at 5:30 carrying a bakery box and looking nervous. Maya opened the door before Caleb could get there and immediately launched herself at Elena's legs. "You came. You really came. I thought maybe you wouldn't because Daddy said you were really busy, but you're here." Elena laughed, balancing the bakery box while hugging Maya back. "I promised I'd come, didn't I?" "Grown-ups break promises sometimes." "Not this one." Elena looked up at Caleb over Maya's head. "Hi. Hi. Come in before the whole neighborhood hears Maya's excitement." They ate dinner at the kitchen table, Maya talking non-stop about everything that had happened in the week since she'd last seen Elena. School, her friend Jacob, who said dinosaurs were stupid, The new documentary about velociraptors she'd watched twice. Her plan to find a T-Rex skeleton when she grew up and name it Steve. Elena listened to all of it like it was the most important conversation she'd ever had, asked follow-up questions, laughed at Maya's jokes, defended her position that dinosaurs were absolutely not stupid and Jacob was wrong. Caleb watched them together and felt something settle in his chest that he hadn't known was unsettled. After dinner, Maya insisted on showing Elena her updated dinosaur collection. She'd gotten 3 new ones since the last visit, and explaining in detail the differences between each one. Elena sat on Maya's bedroom floor, still in her nice clothes, taking notes on her phone as Maya listed facts about the Cretaceous period. "She's going to talk your ear off," Caleb said from the doorway. "Good. I like learning things." Elena looked at a plastic stegosaurus Maya had handed her. "Did you know these plates on their back might have been for temperature regulation?" "Maya knows. She'll test you on it later." Maya beamed. "I like tests." They built a fort after that. Maya's insistence, Elena's willing participation. It was bigger than the last one, more structurally sound, with specific entrance and exit points that Maya had planned on paper. They crawled inside, all 3 of them cramped and ridiculous, and Maya made them play her new game, which involved time travel and dinosaurs, and rules that changed every 2 minutes. At 8:30, Maya started yawning. She fought it, insisting she wasn't tired, but Caleb knew the signs. "Bedtime, baby." "But Elena just got here." "Elena will still be here when you wake up tomorrow." Maya looked at Elena with suspicious eyes. "Promise?" "I have to work tomorrow," Elena said carefully, "but I'll come back soon, as often as I can." "How often is that?" "I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out, okay?" Maya considered this, then nodded. "Okay, but you have to read me a bedtime story first." Elena looked at Caleb, uncertain. "You don't have to," he started. "I want to," Elena said. So she read Maya a story about a dinosaur who was afraid of the dark, Maya's current favorite, and when she was done, Maya hugged her tight and whispered something in her ear that made Elena's eyes get bright with tears. "What did she say?" Caleb asked after they'd left Maya's room. "She said she was glad I came back because she was worried I'd forgotten about her." Elena wiped her eyes. "Like her mom forgot." Caleb felt his chest tighten. "She told you about her mom?" "A little. During the story. She asked if I was going to leave like her mommy did." "What did you say?" "That I wasn't planning to, but that I couldn't promise forever because life is complicated, and that even if I couldn't be here every day, I'd still care about her." Elena looked at him. "Was that okay?" "That was perfect." They went downstairs. Caleb made coffee. They sat on the couch, the same one where this had all started, and for a while neither of them spoke. "How's work?" Caleb asked finally. "Complicated. The board is watching everything I do. My father's watching them watch me. It's exhausting." She took a sip of coffee. "But I'm still there, still CEO. That's something." "That's everything." "Is it?" She looked at him. "Some days I'm not sure. Some days I think maybe losing that job would have been the best thing that could have happened." "You don't mean that, don't I? I could get a different job. Consulting, maybe. Or teaching. Something that doesn't require 80-hour weeks and constant performance." She set her coffee down. "Something that leaves room for this." "This? You, Maya, actual life." She smiled, but it was tired. "Your daughter asked me tonight what I do for fun. I couldn't answer. I don't know what I do for fun. I don't know if I've ever known." "You build forts." "Only because a 6-year-old insisted." "Then we'll keep insisting." Elena leaned against him, her head on his shoulder, and they sat there in comfortable quiet. Outside, the neighborhood was settling into evening. Houses lit from within, cars pulling into driveways, normal life happening all around them. "Can I ask you something?" Elena said. "Sure. Well, what happens when this gets hard? When the media finds out again, or the board makes things difficult, or when my job demands more than I can give without sacrificing this?" She lifted her head to look at him. "What happens when we have to choose?" "We don't choose. We figure it out." "That's not always possible." "Then we figure out what is possible and work with that." Caleb turned to face her properly. I'm not asking you to quit your job or change your life. I'm just asking you to let me be part of it, even if part of it is messy and complicated. Especially then. She kissed him, slow and soft, and when they pulled apart, she was smiling. Maya's going to expect this to be a fairy tale, you know. She's 6. She believes in happy endings. Maybe we give her one. You think that's possible? With my life? I think we try. See what happens. They tried. Over the next few weeks, Elena started showing up on Wednesday evenings after work, then Sunday mornings, then random Saturday afternoons when board meetings ended early, or she decided she needed a break. She learned Maya's schedule, her favorite foods, which dinosaur was which. She sat through another documentary about the Jurassic period and pretended to be riveted even though Caleb could see her checking her phone for work emails. It wasn't smooth. Some nights Elena had to cancel last minute because of conference calls with Singapore or emergency board meetings. Maya didn't always understand, got upset when plans changed, asked questions Caleb didn't know how to answer about why Elena's job was more important than seeing her. It's not more important, he'd explain. It's just complicated. That's a grown-up word for bad. Sometimes, yeah. But Elena always called after, always apologized to Maya directly, always made it up with a visit or a video call where she'd listen to Maya's latest dinosaur facts like they were vital information. The media attention faded eventually. A new scandal emerged, some other CEO making headlines, and the cameras moved on. Caleb stopped checking the news obsessively. Elena stopped flinching every time her phone rang. Life started to feel almost normal. Then April came, and with it, problems. Elena's father called Caleb on a Tuesday afternoon. That alone was enough to make his stomach drop. "Mr. Ward, we need to talk." "About what?" "About my daughter's future. Can you meet me? There's a coffee shop near your work. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. "I work nights." "I'm aware. This is important." Caleb almost said no. Almost told Richard Voss that whatever he needed to say, he could say over the phone. But something in the man's voice stopped him. "Fine. 2 p.m. The coffee shop was small, local, the kind of place where Richard Voss stood out like a yacht in a bathtub. He was already there when Caleb arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee waiting. "Thank you for coming," Richard said as Caleb sat down. "What's this about?" Direct as always, Richard pushed 1 coffee toward him. "The board is making another move. Vote of no confidence, second attempt. Scheduled for next month." Caleb's stomach dropped. "Why?" "Because Elena's quarterly numbers are down. Not significantly, not enough to concern anyone reasonable, but enough to give her enemies ammunition." Richard looked older than he had at the estate, tired in a way expensive suits couldn't hide. "And because they found out about you. I thought the NDA prevents you from talking. It doesn't prevent them from investigating. They know about the dinners, the visits, the relationship." Richard held up a hand before Caleb could speak. "I'm not here to tell you to end it. I'm here to warn you what's coming." "What's coming?" "A choice. They're going to present it to Elena as an ultimatum. End the relationship and keep her position, or continue it and face removal." Richard's jaw tightened. "They'll frame it as a distraction, a liability, evidence of poor judgment, and they'll have enough votes to make it stick." "That's insane." "That's power. They don't care about her happiness. They care about control." Caleb stared at his untouched coffee. "What does Elena know?" "Nothing yet. I wanted to talk to you first." Richard leaned forward. "I need to know. If it comes to that choice, what will you do?" "That's not my choice to make." "It affects you. Your daughter. Your life. You have a say." "No, I don't." Caleb met his eyes. "Elena's spent her whole life being told what to do, what to be, how to choose. I'm not going to be another person telling her what she can and can't have. Even if choosing you costs her everything? Even then, because it's her choice. Not mine, not yours, hers." Richard sat back, studied him. "You really mean that?" "Yeah, I do. Most men would take the out, protect themselves. I'm not most men, and Elena's not most women." Caleb stood up. "You want to help her? Stop treating her like a chess piece and start treating her like your daughter." He left before Richard could respond. That night, Elena came over for dinner looking exhausted. Maya entertained her with a new game involving plastic dinosaurs and a complex storyline about time travel, and for a while everything felt normal. After Maya went to bed, Elena collapsed on the couch. "Rough day?" Caleb asked. "Rough week. Rough month." She closed her eyes. "I'm tired, Caleb. Really tired." He sat next to her and she leaned against him. "Your dad called me today." Elena opened her eyes. "What?" "He wanted to talk. About the board. About another vote." "He told you?" She sat up, anger flashing across her face. "He had no right. He was trying to help. By going behind my back? By warning me what's coming, which you should have done." Elena looked away. "I was going to tell you." "When?" "I don't know, when I figured out what to do about it." "There's nothing to do about it. They're going to force you to choose. You know that, right?" "I know." Her voice was small. "The job or you? The company or this life? Everything I've worked for or everything I've just started to want? That's a bullshit choice. But it's the one I have." They sat in silence, the weight of it pressing down on both of them. "What are you going to do?" Caleb asked finally. "I don't know." Elena's hands were shaking. "If I choose the job, I lose you, lose Maya, lose the only real thing I've had in years. But if I choose you, I lose my company, my father's legacy. Everything I've built my entire identity around." "Your identity isn't a job." "Easy for you to say." "Your identity is being a father. That doesn't go away. But CEO, that's all I've been for 6 years. If I lose it, who am I?" "You're someone who builds forts and asks questions about dinosaurs and cries during documentaries about extinction, even though you pretend you're not." Elena laughed, but it came out like a sob. "That's not enough." "Why not?" "Because I'm supposed to be more than that. I'm supposed to be—" She stopped. "I don't know, strong, successful, someone who matters." "You matter to Maya. You matter to me. Isn't that enough?" "I don't know if it is." The honesty of that hit Caleb like a punch. He'd known this was complicated, known the world she came from had different rules. But hearing her say out loud that maybe this, them, wasn't enough to choose, that hurt in a way he hadn't expected. "Okay," he said quietly. "Okay? If the job is what you need, if that's what makes you whole, then choose it. I won't fight you on it." "Caleb, I mean it. I won't be the reason you give up everything you've worked for, and I won't let you resent me for it later." Elena grabbed his hand. "I don't want to lose you." "You can't have both. Your board made sure of that. Then I'll fight them. You'll lose. Your dad said they have the votes. So what? I just give up? Choose between two impossible things and accept that I can't have a life and a career? No. You choose what you can live with. What you can live without." Caleb squeezed her hand. "And whatever you choose, I'll understand." She kissed him then, desperate and scared, and he kissed her back even though he could feel her already pulling away, already making calculations about what she could afford to lose. Elena left an hour later. She didn't say what she was going to do. Neither did Caleb ask. The next few weeks were strange. Elena still came around, but less often, more distracted. She'd sit with Maya, but her mind was clearly elsewhere, running through scenarios and strategies and plans that didn't include them. Maya noticed. "Is Elena leaving?" she asked one night after Elena had canceled another visit. "I don't know, baby." "Because of her job?" "Yeah, because of her job." "That's stupid. Jobs are supposed to help people be happy, not make them sad." "Sometimes it doesn't work that way." "Then the job is wrong." Out of the mouths of children, Caleb thought. "Yeah, sometimes it is." The board meeting happened on a Thursday in late April. Caleb knew about it because Richard called that morning. "It's today," he said. "The vote, 4 p.m. "I know. Elena told me." "Did she tell you what she's planning?" "No." Richard was quiet for a moment. "I tried to stop this. Used every favor, every piece of leverage I had. It wasn't enough." "You did what you could." "Did I? Or did I build a system that destroys my daughter for being human?" His voice cracked slightly. "I keep thinking about what you said, about treating her like a chess piece. You were right." What are you going to do? Something I should have done years ago. Support whatever she chooses, even if it means watching her walk away from everything I built. The line went dead. Caleb picked up Maya from school and took her to the park. They sat on the swings, not really swinging, just sitting. Is today the day Elena decides? Maya asked. Yeah. Will she pick us? I don't know. But you want her to. Yeah, baby, I do. Me too. Maya kicked at the wood chips under her feet. But I also want her to be happy, even if that means she can't see us anymore. Caleb pulled her into a hug. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just don't always notice. They stayed at the park until the sun started setting. Caleb's phone stayed silent. No calls, no texts, no news about what had happened in that boardroom. They went home, made dinner. Maya did homework. Everything normal except for the weight of not knowing. At 8 p.m., there was a knock on the door. Caleb opened it to find Elena standing on his porch, still in her work clothes, mascara smudged, looking like she'd been crying for hours. Can I come in? She asked. He stepped aside. Elena walked into the living room where Maya was building something with blocks. Maya looked up, saw Elena's face, and immediately ran over. What's wrong? Did someone hurt you? No, sweetheart. Nobody hurt me. Elena knelt down to Maya's level. I just had a very hard day. Because of your job? Yeah, because of my job. Did you lose it? Elena looked at Caleb, then back at Maya. No, I quit it. The words hung in the air like a bomb that hadn't exploded yet. You quit? Caleb asked. I quit. Elena stood up, faced him. The board gave me their ultimatum, end the relationship or lose my position, and I told them I'd save them the trouble of voting. I quit, effective immediately. Elena, I know, it's crazy, it's reckless. It's probably the most impulsive thing I've ever done. She was talking fast, nervous energy pouring out, but I stood there listening to them tell me I had to choose between being CEO and being human, and I realized I've already been making that choice for years. I chose the job over my health, over relationships, over any kind of life outside work, and I was miserable. But the company will survive. My father's already talking about interim leadership, probably someone from the board. It'll be fine. She moved closer. But I won't be fine if I keep living like that. And I definitely won't be fine if I lose this. She gestured around the room, at the blocks scattered on the floor, at the dinosaur drawings on the fridge, at the small, ordinary life Caleb and Maya had built. You're sure? Caleb asked. No, I'm terrified. I have no idea what I'm going to do next. No plan, no backup, nothing. Elena laughed, and it sounded a little hysterical. But for the first time in my life, I made a choice that was just mine. Not what my father wanted. Not what the board demanded. Mine. Maya hugged her legs. So you're staying? If you'll have me. We'll have you. Maya looked at Caleb. Right, Daddy? Yeah, baby. We'll have her. Elena started crying again, but this time they were different tears. Relief, maybe, or fear, or both. The next few months were chaos in the best and worst ways. The media had a field day with Elena's resignation. Think pieces about women in business, about work-life balance, about whether she'd made the right choice. Elena ignored most of it. She was too busy figuring out what came next. She did consulting work for a while, helped startups with strategy, taught a few business classes at the university, made decent money, though nothing close to what she'd made as CEO. But she had time now. Time for dinners that lasted hours. Time for Maya's school events. Time to exist without every minute being scheduled 6 weeks in advance. Richard took it hard at first, saw his daughter's resignation as a personal failure, evidence that he'd built something that consumed people. But gradually, over family dinners that Elena insisted on having weekly, he started to soften. Started to see his daughter happy in a way she hadn't been in years. You look good, he told her one Sunday evening at Caleb's house, watching her help Maya with a science project about volcanoes. I feel good. No regrets. Elena looked at Maya, covered in baking soda and food coloring, laughing as her volcano erupted. Not even one. Richard looked at Caleb. You take care of her. I plan to. Good. Richard stood to leave, then paused. You were right, that day at the coffee shop.
I was treating her like a chess piece.
I forgot she was my daughter first. You remembered eventually. That counts. Summer came, and with it, changes. Elena moved out of her downtown apartment, too big, too expensive, too much space for one person, and got a smaller place closer to Caleb's neighborhood. Not with him, not yet, but close enough that Maya could bike over. Close enough that it felt like building toward something. They took trips together, small ones, a weekend at a lake, camping in Wisconsin, where Maya complained about bugs but loved the campfire stories. A visit to a natural history museum where Maya spent 4 hours in the dinosaur exhibit, and Elena took notes on her phone about things she wanted to research. It wasn't perfect. Elena still struggled with slowing down, with letting go of control, with accepting that not every moment needed to be productive. She had nightmares sometimes about board meetings and failure and disappointing her father. She second-guessed her decision on hard days when money was tight and consulting work was slow. But she stayed. Through all of it, she stayed. In August, Caleb's lease came up for renewal. The landlord wanted to raise the rent, not by much, but enough that it would be tight. He was sitting at the kitchen table trying to make the numbers work when Elena came over with takeout. "What's wrong?" she asked, seeing his face. He explained about the rent. She listened, then said, "Move in with me." "What?" "My place is bigger, 2 bedrooms. You and Maya could have your own space and we'd split costs. It makes financial sense." Elena, "I know it's fast, I know it's a big step, but we're basically living together already. Maya sleeps at my place half the week. Your toothbrush is in my bathroom. We're doing this anyway, just inefficiently." Caleb looked at her. "Is that the only reason? Financial efficiency?" "No." She sat down across from him. "I want to wake up with you both there. I want to be part of the morning routine and the bedtime stories and the regular boring stuff. I want this to be real and permanent and ours." "What about Maya? We should ask her." They asked her that night. Maya's response was to pack a bag immediately and declare she was ready to move right now. Could they go tonight? She wanted to set up her dinosaurs in her new room. They moved in September. It was chaotic. Boxes everywhere. Furniture that didn't quite fit. Arguments about where things should go. But Maya's room came together first. Dinosaurs arranged on shelves, drawings hung on walls, nightlight plugged in and casting familiar stars across an unfamiliar ceiling. The first night in the new place, Caleb found Elena sitting on the floor of their bedroom surrounded by unpacked boxes, looking overwhelmed. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "Domestic life, normal stuff. I know how to run a company. I know how to manage a crisis, but I don't know how to just live with people." Caleb sat down next to her. "You've been doing pretty good so far." "Have I?" "Maya thinks you're the best thing that ever happened to us. Pretty sure that counts." Elena leaned against him. "I love you, both of you. I don't think I've said that out loud yet." "You haven't." "I love you, even though it's terrifying and I don't know what I'm doing half the time." "I love you too, even though you reorganized my entire kitchen without asking. It needed reorganizing. Your spices were a disaster." "My spices were fine. They were alphabetized wrong." "There's a wrong way to alphabetize?" Elena kissed him instead of answering, and they sat there on the floor of their new bedroom in their new shared life, surrounded by boxes and possibilities. Fall arrived. Maya started 2nd grade. Elena taught 2 classes at the university and took on more consulting work, building something that looked like a career but felt different, more intentional, more hers. Richard visited often. He and Caleb developed an unlikely friendship based on shared concern for the 2 most important women in their lives. They watched football together, argued about politics, shared the comfortable silence of 2 men who'd found their way to the same conclusion from very different directions. In October, Elena got an offer. A startup wanted her as CEO, full salary, equity, the works. They were young, ambitious, building something in green technology that she actually believed in. She turned it down. "Why?" Caleb asked when she told him. "Because I like teaching. I like consulting. I like having time for dinner and weekends and Maya's school plays." She smiled. "I like being happy more than being important." "You could be both." "Maybe, but I don't need to be. That's what I learned from all this. I don't need the title or the power or the validation. I just need this. She gestured around their apartment at the life they'd built. No regrets? Not even one. Winter came again. Not as brutal as the one that had started everything, but cold enough that they stayed inside most evenings. They made it a tradition, Friday night fort building with Maya, elaborate structures that took over the living room. Elena had gotten surprisingly competitive about it, researching architectural principles and teaching Maya about load-bearing walls. One Friday in December, Maya announced she had a surprise. "I made something," she said, pulling out a drawing from her backpack. "For all of us." It was a family portrait. Stick figures, but clearly them. Caleb tall and smiling, Elena with her hair down and holding what looked like a dinosaur, Maya in the middle holding both their hands. "We're a family now, right?" Maya asked. "That's what this means?" Elena's eyes filled with tears. Caleb pulled Maya into a hug. "Yeah, baby," he said. "That's what this means." They hung the drawing on the refrigerator, right next to Maya's latest dinosaur masterpiece and a photo from their camping trip. Small moments building into a life. In January, on a night when snow was falling light and steady, Elena and Caleb sat on their balcony wrapped in blankets, watching the city turn white. "You know what today is?" Elena asked. "Friday?" "The anniversary. 1 year since that night." Caleb looked at her. "The night you collapsed. The night you saved me." She took his hand. "Everything changed that night. My whole life changed. Mine too. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd just called security, done the normal thing?" "Sometimes, but then I remember I wouldn't have this, wouldn't have you, so no, I don't regret it. Even with everything that came after, the media, the board, the pressure. Even with all that." Elena was quiet for a moment. "I used to think success meant never needing anyone, being completely self-sufficient, untouchable." She looked at him. "You taught me that was lonely, that needing people isn't weakness, that letting someone help you isn't failure. You taught me some things too." "Like what?" "That rich people are weird about pizza toppings." She laughed and hit him with her blanket. "I'm being serious." "So am I. Pineapple on pizza is still wrong. It's grown on me." "That's the most disturbing thing you've ever said." They sat there watching the snow fall, and Caleb thought about that night a year ago, about finding Elena on that floor, about making the choice to help instead of walk away, about how one decision in a moment of crisis had led to all of this. Inside, Maya was asleep with her dinosaurs arranged protectively around her bed. Their apartment was warm and messy and full of life. Tomorrow they'd wake up and do it all again. Make breakfast, argue about something trivial, build blanket forts and tell stories and exist in the small, ordinary magic of being together. "You know what the best part is?" Elena said. "What?" "I don't miss it. The company, the power, any of it. I thought I would. Thought I'd wake up one day and regret choosing this. But I never have. Because this is better? Because this is real." She turned to face him. "Everything else was performance. This is just us, living, being human." Caleb kissed her, tasting snow and coffee and the future they were building one day at a time. Inside, their daughter slept safe and warm. Outside, the city kept turning, indifferent to their small story. But here, in this moment, on this balcony, two people who shouldn't have fit together sat wrapped in blankets and watched the snow fall. And it was enough. More than enough. It was everything. Spring came eventually, the way it always does. The snow melted. The world turned green again. In their small front yard, the apartment building had upgraded to a townhouse by March, when Elena's consulting work picked up, and Caleb got a promotion to building supervisor. They planted flowers together. Caleb dug the holes. Elena read the planting instructions too carefully, worrying about depth and spacing. Maya provided running commentary about how plants were basically the dinosaurs of the modern era if you thought about it evolutionarily. "That makes no sense," Caleb said. "It makes perfect sense," Maya insisted. "Everything's related if you go back far enough." Elena laughed, dirt on her hands, hair falling out of its ponytail, looking nothing like the woman who'd run a billion-dollar company and everything like someone who'd finally figured out what mattered. They planted daisies, Maya's choice, because they were happy, and some vegetables that would probably die, but they were trying anyway. When they were done, they stood back and looked at their work. Imperfect, a little chaotic. Exactly right. It's good, Maya declared. It's a mess, Caleb said. It's ours, Elena corrected. And she was right. What had started as a moment of crisis on a brutal winter night had grown into something neither of them could have predicted. Not a fairy tale. Not perfect. Just real and messy and good. Inside, the photo on the fridge had been joined by others, camping trips and birthday parties and ordinary Tuesdays. Maya's drawings covered every available surface. Elena's business books shared shelf space with dinosaur encyclopedias. Caleb's coffee mug sat next to Elena's expensive French press, and somehow they made it work. That evening, after Maya was asleep and the dishes were done and the day was fading into night, Caleb found Elena on the small front porch looking at the flowers they'd planted. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Everything. Nothing." She smiled. "How one choice changed my entire life. Changed mine too. For better or worse?" "Better. Definitely better." She took his hand and they stood there in the fading light, and Caleb thought about all the moments that had led them here. The collapsed CEO and the invisible janitor, the snowstorm and the desperate choice, the board meetings and media storms and the slow building of something that felt like home. "You know what I realized?" Elena said. "What?" "That night, when I asked you not to call security, I wasn't just asking for help. I was asking for someone to see me, really see me. Not the CEO or the name or the power, just me. I saw you. I know, that's why I'm here." Inside, Maya called out in her sleep something about velociraptors. They went inside together, checked on her, fast asleep, covers kicked off, surrounded by her plastic dinosaurs like tiny guards. Caleb pulled the blanket back over her. Elena kissed her forehead. They stood there for a moment, watching her sleep, this little girl who'd accepted Elena into their lives like she'd always been there. "Thank you," Elena whispered. "For what?" "For not calling security. For taking a chance. For seeing me when I couldn't see myself. Thank you for showing up on my porch in the middle of a breakdown. Best worst decision I ever made." They went to bed in their shared room, in their shared life, and outside the flowers they'd planted waited for spring to work its magic. It wasn't the life Elena had planned. It wasn't the one Caleb had expected. But it was theirs. Built on a choice made in kindness, sustained by courage and stubbornness and love. Imperfect and real, and exactly what both of them needed. And somewhere in the city, in the tower where it had all started, the light stayed on through the night. Business continued. The world kept turning. But here, in this small house with its mismatched furniture and dirt from planting still under their fingernails, two people who'd found each other in the worst moment built the best life, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one dinosaur fact at a time, and it was enough.